Hi, and a warm welcome to our Tacton Summit, Conscious Manufacturing. My name is Cecilia Hamrin, and I will be the host for our summit this spring. I'm eager to hand over also to Madeleine, our new head of sustainability here at Tacton, who actually just joined us yesterday. So Madeleine have a broad experience from working with companies on different continents to drive the sustainable agenda with customers and society for companies such as HP, Canon, Ericsson, and Electrolux. So a warm welcome to you, Madeleine, at this event, and of course also at Tacton. So I will hand over the word to you to wrap up our first day of our Tacton Summit.
Okay, thank you. And of course, it's fantastic to be here and to be able to kind of reach out to stakeholders at Tacton, just day two, as you said, and listen to all of those speakers. I was thinking how to wrap this up in a good way. So, I use my experience from my early experience from the IT hardware, where I've been the last decade or so, or even longer, and try to reflect on some of the things that was said here. So we've listened to three excellent speakers, experts. We started with the EU level, and then we came to engineering research, and then we got this early adopter, as I would phrase it, from the food industry. So thank you, Joe and Irene and Ksenia, and also for staying on. I have a final question for you later on. I have borrowed some of your slides, as you can see here, just to share something. I think to me it's important to say that sustainability is really a broad concept. So we tend to mention sustainability, but what we really mean is an environment from the beginning, at least. I mean, because that's the most tangible thing. That's where we see the most regulations and so on, and also where we see the most interest. So, but I think it's okay to start with one of the aspects of sustainability, because otherwise it can be too. You can feel humble for in front of the challenge, so to say. So I tend to change sustainability to environment very often when I speak. Okay. But why do we talk about sustainability today? Well, something that wasn't, lots of interesting things were mentioned here, but I think one thing that wasn't mentioned was the IPCC report, so this International Panel for Climate Change. I think that's the abbreviation. They recently, just a week ago, released a report and stating that the time to act is now. Of course, we can act later on as a society, but that will cost more. And the thing is that the interesting thing is that we can live on an Earth where the temperature is increasing above 2 degrees, but it won't be a pleasant Earth to live in for us, for humans. And the Earth doesn't need us; we need it. So I think that's a really interesting perspective. And I think also that, the early movers have an opportunity here. There's a business opportunity for early movers. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of, when. And I think that this has been covered by many of the speakers today. I would like to go back to, and let's see if I can change the slide set here. I would like to go back to, Joe, you started with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and focusing on number 12, which is responsible consumption and production. And the interesting thing is that there are two parts there. It's both the production, but also the consumption. And I think it's interesting to see that this is a partnership. So although, regulations today are only almost focusing manufacturers or producers, the consumers and everybody that's buys and uses stuff also have a part in this. And we will actually see, and I think you might have reflected on this also, Joe, that we will see more regulations on the consumption also, and taxes and so on. So that's, I think, is there was just a remark I wanted to make. And you covered lots of interesting things. And I mean, how can we make sustainable products the norm and so on? And I think one really big change is the way the business models work. So the circular business models, circular economy will be a big part of how to come to a more sustainable business, so to say, or sustainable society. And what it really means. How should I say? It means circular economy is not only designing the products, as you also mentioned, Ksenia. You mentioned, designing products in a circular way, but it's also very much, how do we buy products and how do we use products? How are they sold and used? And here, of course, from my earlier experience, then I'm thinking about device as a service, or as Tacton has done recently, moved into software as a service, where it's a very good move because, how should I say, the experts will take care of everything that the users usually don't, so to say. I mean, the maintenance is more reliable. And what I mean with this is, for instance, if you would go home and look into your cupboards and thing, you will find old IT. You will find old mobile phones and stuff, which is only there because you bought it and then you forgot about it, probably. But if you have somebody providing the service, they will actually ask you to bring that product back, which means that the material in the product will be available for recycling, and the product itself will be available for reuse and so on. But to be able to reach this circular economy, we also touched upon transparency. We heard that. I was so happy to hear many of you mention transparency because, there's some different layers here related to data. First, of course, you have to have the data, but then you need to be transparent with the data. And it works both ways, between the user and the provider of a service. And I think that not everybody is really ready to be as transparent as needed. And I'm talking from personal experience here with the user data. So that was another reflection. I think we also in the first presentation here, Joe, you mentioned the Green Deal, the package that EU is putting together. So there are lots of different parts of this, and it's kind of, most of it is actually mandatory, or compulsory things, but there will also be voluntary how should I say, aspects. And I think if industry can move fast and fulfill the requirements of the regulators, then we can avoid regulations. And I'm thinking, just to take a tangible example, what I mean with this, if you look at imaging equipment, so printers, office printers, there is now not the same requirement on energy efficiency on printers as there is on TVs and monitors and so on, just because the industry itself have come to, a voluntary agreement to make the product sustainable. So yeah, that is of course another way to, rather than waiting for regulations to kind of go together in the industry. Yes, and then I was thinking, to change the slide here. Yeah, of course, this one sticks out. You talk about making the most out of digital tools to maximize opportunities for business and consumers. It of course talks to us at Tacton, because you could draw it's similar to eco-labels for simpler products, that if the customers can see a difference when they buy, and they kind of know what they see, they will make the right choice, so to say. I mean, if it's the same or a similar cost. So I think we are really in a very good position right now. Once we have the data, once the providers of data are transparent enough, we have the data, then we need together to decide how can we present this data in a way so that, the customers understand what they see and take decisions out from it. And that connects actually to the research that you make here, Irene. I mean, it's one thing to have data, but you should be able to make guided decisions out of it. And so, this comes down to simple things like user interfaces. I mean, do we have to present different product configurations? Should we talk about it as tons of carbon dioxide emissions, or should we talk about it as saved trees? And so this is not set yet. I know you talked about standards, for instance, that we should use the same standards. I imagine there will be different standards for different industries, but there's an opportunity, really an opportunity. Let's see if there was something else I wanted to mention. That's also one thing that I think I've had from experience also, that there's, how should I say, when an end customer buy a product, there's a long history inside that product that doesn't show. And I mean, if you buy from a company with a good sustainability story, you can be sure of that the history of the product is okay from social and environmental concerns, so to say. So I think that, and once again, that has to do with transparency, but customers, both consumers and industrial customers, are starting to see that it's important not only to look at the product, but also to look at the producer. I think that's maybe, let's see if there was, we touched, I took this one too. I think it was interesting to see what you mentioned, Irene, about, the data that is needed, and that knowledge basis, probably we will see more and more data moving on. And, and there will be a more request for data. And here, when we talk about going back to the digital passport, digital product passport, it's so important that the data that is requested is useful to somebody. So we don't just because we can, request data, we need to understand what we request, or the regulators need to understand what they request. So anyway, I see time is flying, so I just have one final question, really, and that is, I'm going to move this one. So, and that is, you talked a lot about different possibilities and your experiences and so on. But if you could have 1 minute to give an actionable advice to the listeners, what would that be? And I guess I'll start with you, Jo, because you were the first speaker.
Thank you. And I think, it's really interesting to listen to your insights, because this is a conversation. And so what I would say is the following. Regulation is coming down the track. The world cannot wait. Resource scarcity is at an extreme, and not just because of that, but because of geopolitics. So we can't really trust the ability, the availability of resources as we could before. Circularity and low carbon is a challenge to blend the two together, as it is a challenge to blend this whole environmental challenge with digital tools. But digital is going to be the answer. Innovation, this technology can be a force for good. Technology can be used to measure, to compute data very quickly, and to enable companies and individuals to make choices. And those choices have to be a full life cycle. Absolutely. It's designing not just for recyclability, but for repair, for reuse. Basically, whatever you make as a manufacturer, you own. And actually, the responsibility, the consumer is in how it's used. It's up to the manufacturer to make sure the products are used in a way which is to have a minimum impact. And so I would put just going back to your comment on manufacturers, it is the manufacturer's responsibility to own its own stuff, let's say, to be in a polite way. Whatever you put into this bottle, whatever you produce, it's ownership. And it makes me think of this kind of whole new economy we're going into. Will we as consumers actually own anything anymore, or will it all be on loan? And that's another whole topic, I'm sure. But
it's a long one. Thank you for that. Actually, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you there. But I agree totally. Yeah, and Irene, what would your comment be?
Yes, I would say that even that we are at the beginning of this new journey, sustainability journey, we have already proved that there are some successful examples of integrating sustainability data in such projects. So companies shouldn't be afraid on entering this new stage, this new approach. So I would say that the most important in order to succeed is to be surrounded and to get the right people involved in these projects, to get maybe some external point of view, and they will guide companies into what is the most appropriate method and the most appropriate way on succeeding in this.
Okay, thank you. That's really key, of course. And Ksenia.
Well, I would actually just repeat what was already told, but from the manufacturing company perspective, I would say, first of all, get your focus on sustainability, and it should be anchored in the management, in the top management. Otherwise, it won't be implemented. Again, focus on data, get it in place, and then get it integrated in all the digital tools that should be available there, hopefully very soon. And last but not least, collaboration across supply chain. Go pick up the phone, talk to your suppliers, talk to your customers. Even competitors can be there help. So just expand the interest areas and get all the people involved. That's probably also a recommendation, because otherwise they will not learn about your problems and you will not learn about their problems.